About 4,000 years ago, a powerful, progressive, and incredible wealthy city developed into one of the greatest cities in the world. This is where modern inventions and mathematics were invented. The city has an efficient transport system and hanging garden that were the feat of engineering. The city wealth was unimaginable. Impressive work of art and statue of gold were seen in this city at that time. The majestic royal palace was the largest ever built in the world. Babylon used to exist in what is now modern-day Iraq. The city-state of Babylon has been in Mesopotamia as known as Iraq for years. Around 1792 BC, when King Hammurabi was elected ruler, he invented a writing system on clay tablets and was the first ever talk about rights and rule in written form, where 228 laws were written on large pillars. As before, the law were only just by word of mouth. After he died, his son took charge of Babylon, but they can't maintain the prosperous environment throughout the city, and as a result, the city was invaded by many forces like Assyrians, 112 BC, New Babylonians, and many more. New Babylonians reclaimed their city again, and the king was Nabopolassar and his son Nebuchadnezzar ruled Babylonians. After many wars, the largest city had lost all of its glory, and the suffering of citizens was seen everywhere, like the forced detention of Jews from the wars, slavery, and poverty.
Myth. The Median prince Astyages had a prophetic dream that his pregnant daughter Mandana exuded water that would soon flood all Asia, so he wed her to one of these kings of ancient, knowing that no son of a mere Persian would ever rule the great Median empire. But he had another dream soon after, in which vines grew from Mandana's womb to engulf the entire world. Terrified, paranoid, Astyages decided to kill her child when it was born. This boy, known as Kurush by all Persian pronunciation, but to us as Cyrus, came into the world at the royal palace of Ecbatana in 1600 BC. Astyages immediately ordered one of his senior men, Harpagus, to take the baby, kill him, and dispose of the body far away. Harpagus said that he would do as ordered and took the boy home, unwilling to kill the child. However, rather than killing the young Cyrus, Mithridates and his wife secretly raised him as their own son. Harpagus had no idea, and neither did Astyages. One day, Cyrus, then known in his secret existence as the Mithridates, was playing king and court with a few other boys, one of whom was the son of a Median magnate. As a part of the game, King Cyrus ended up wiping the noble boy, who then subsequently complained to his father about the incident. The perpetrator was summoned to answer before Astyages, who quickly discerned that he was the boy Harpagus had been ordered to kill. Astyages found calm, explaining to Harpagus that he had often felt remorse for the order, and then his actions were actually to be celebrated with a feast. At Astyages' order, Harpagus sent his 13-year-old son to the palace and then arrived later himself as a guest during the feast. Astyages made Harpagus eat his own son, and although the courtier claimed, "Whatever you do, sire, is agreeable to me," he would forever bear a grudge. Meanwhile, Cyrus was paid and even went on to become royal cupbearer, a position of considerable prestige. The young Persian also served as a royal envoy and advisor, becoming indispensable to Astyages. Cyrus also wed Cassandra, a fellow Achaemenid and the love of his life. At the same time, Harpagus had been gathering the anti-Astyages nobles and befriending Cyrus in 552 BC. They decided to act. The prince, who was now in his 40s, made his way back to his homeland and raised it in revolt. After winning an initial battle there and another on the border between Persia and Media, Cyrus and his allies crushed Astyages' army outside Perseus after Harpagus betrayed. Astyages taken Ecbatana soon thereafter. Almost immediately, Media governors in Hyrcania, Parthia, and Bactria submitted as well. The Achaemenid Empire, which was at its beginning a collaboration between Persia and Media, was born.
By 542 BC, Cyrus's attention was focused on another great power, ripe for conquest, the so-called Neo-Babylonian Empire. Far from the good old days of Nebuchadnezzar II, the current Babylonian king Nabonidus wasn't a good ruler. He diverted favor and funding away from Babylonian priests, neglected the common people, stopped renovation works on the city, and even cancelled the New Year festival of the great god Marduk. Discontent and loyalty to the king and his son Belshazzar was at an all-time low, and Cyrus was all too aware of this fact. Persian infiltrators began spreading word throughout Nabonidus' empire that Cyrus's intent to restore Marduk's supremacy in Babylon. In 540, sensing that the time was right, Cyrus dispatched his army to seize Babylon-dominated Elam with the help of native revolt. This blow brought Nabonidus back from his retirement and to Babylon, where he took control of the army. Notoriously, he seized the sacred statues of his many domains in order to ensure their obedience. The next year, Cyrus and his increasingly powerful army marched south to invade the Babylonian Empire, but he would do it as a liberator. However, their progress was blocked for weeks by a swollen tributary of the Tigris River just the north of Opis. Although the obstacle was overcome by Persian troops digging many channels around the river to divert its course. This delay allowed Nabonidus to assemble a large army and advance north. The king himself, however, remained ensconced at Sippar, while General Gubara conducted the war. The battle took place in the last days of September near Opis. What we do know is that Cyrus's forces, fighting under the gold and red Shahbaz standard, won yet another crushing victory.
Cyrus believed that it is better to be loved than feared, and so he respected people of all kinds, even those who conquered so many joins the Persian Empire without a fight. Like the people of Babylon, they freed the slaves, many of whom were Jews, and helped them to return their homeland, to rebuild their temples, and to practice their religions. 25 years ago, Cyrus made a historic proclamation of his rules and laws honorably surrender, known as the Cyrus Surrender, which became known as the first declaration of human rights, religion, tolerance, and individual freedom. His contribution toward human rights led to the modern concept of human rights.
2 weeks after he captured the city and dealt with all the necessary formalities, on October 26, 593, Cyrus entered the Babylon to a rapturous welcome, restoring Marduk's priesthood to its elevated position and tend to the needs of the people. Further show his benevolence, the new ruler kept taxes to a minimum, completed several public works, and returned ideals seized by Nabonidus. The words account of Nabonidus sums up what the people, or at least the favored priest, may have felt. They are like prisoners when the prisoners are open. Liberty is restored to those who were surrounded by oppression. All rejoice to look upon him as king, in a famous act that would again him unabashed, floated within the pages of the Hebrew Bible. Cyrus the Great returned thousands of Jews who had previously been deported as a part of Nebuchadnezzar's so-called Babylonian exile to Judaism. Not only did he restore the Jews for their homeland, but it is also said that the Cyrus ordered the construction and the state funding of what eventually became Judaism's second temple. For this generosity, he was the only foreigner ever to be named as the Messiah in the Jewish religion. Without this, it is impossible that Judaism would have died out, while Christianity and Islam might never have existed at all. Soldier historian Xenophon, writing over a century later, believed that the first Persian king died in his bed, while the Greek physician Cyrus claimed Cyrus' death was due to wound received in battle. Herodotus, however, tells us undoubtedly the most fantastic and epic tale of how the first king of kings came to an end. In the late autumn of 530 BC, with his new hegemonic empire organized and set to the right, Cyrus took his army to confront a deadly new foe. After a long march across Iran, the Persian force came to the northern eastern steppe frontier of the empire in what is Today, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, there a Fushia Scythian tribe known as the Masageti were gathering a massive army of both infantry and the famous nomadic cavalry, arriving in the vicinity of the Oxus River where the Masageti were located at that time. Cyrus, who seemed to have become arrogant from all his successes, were informed that the previous chieftain of his bothersome people was dead. His place to rule the daunting Amazon as Scythian queen known to as Estamice. Cyrus raided his forces but also despatched an offer of marriage to the queen in hopes of a diplomatic conquest.
This was swiftly rebuked. The savvy queen knew that Cyrus only had an eye for her domain rather than her. While the Persians were in the process of constructing a pontoon over the Oxus, messenger arrived from Tromius being an offer of her own. Seize king of the Medes. Is king of the Medes from that on which you are intent, for you cannot know if the completion of this work will be able to of your advantage. Seize and be king of your own country, and be patient to seize us ruling those whom we rule. Having made this brazen decrees, Tomris decreed the bridge was unnecessary. Either she would retreat 3 days from the river and willingly fight the Persian there on open ground, or the Persians could let the Masageti cross instead, whichever was to their liking. Gathering his advisor, all but one of them recommended that Cyrus withdraw and break Tomris against the river. The center was withdraw and break Tomris against the river. The center was Cyrus, the spouse king of the Lydias, who consoled the Achaemenid ruler to cross on to the far side. Cyrus took his advice and did not just that. Then, after seeing up a luxurious camp and then feigning a retreat, the Persians lured a third of the Masageti army, who feasted and drank the spoils. Then this force led by Tomria's son was set up on by the whole Persian army and destroyed. Tomria's son killed himself, and his mother swore to avenge him by giving Cyrus the blood he clearly desired.
On December 4th, 530 BC, the armies of Cyrus and Tomris clashed. At long range, the nomads and their Persian foes were evenly matched, both people being brilliant archers. However, when the Masagetae got in close, their heavy bronze armor and brutal battle axes ripped the Achaemenid army to ribbons. Almost all of it was annihilated, and Cyrus was killed either on the field or from his wounds a few days later. Tomris fulfilled her vow by finding the Persian king's head and drenching it in blood from an animal's skin. Somehow, by negotiation or daring deed which we know nothing about, Cyrus's remains came to rest at the tomb of Cyrus in Parsegard, a remnant of ancient world that still exists more or less intact to this day. At the time of Alexander's conquest, 200 years later, there was an inscription on the tomb that read, "I am Cyrus, son of Cambyses, who founded the empire of Persia and ruled over Asia. Do not grudge me my monument."